Welcome, everyone, and to my early risers here. I see Schuylkill River Valley in the house, John Benicki, Tim D, and I think Zanuda Eastern Rail Fan Productions just joined us. Welcome, everybody, to the 6th edition of the Just Jump In live stream. Let's see who else. Looking for interestingly enough, I don't know if others did, but I didn't get notification prior to the start, like a 30-minute notification. And if anybody has any idea to how to make that happen, if I'm not doing something right, I appreciate some advice on that. I got the notification only as I set the stream live, so I didn't even get the about to start notification. So any advice there would certainly help. Let's see if anybody else has popped in. I'm looking for my faithful moderator, Gopher Girl. I don't see her popping in yet. She'll tell me probably she didn't get the notification. Either that or she's trying to finish up a video game. But we'll see. Welcome, Eileen, and many of you already probably know Eileen is my mother, who faithfully supports me no matter how bad I am at this. So welcome. Appreciate you coming in. All right, so as people continue to come in, I'll try to make sure I say hello to everyone. So it was a spotty week this week for work on the car. It started off last weekend, so I didn't notice it Friday night after the live stream at all. So I think it probably happened somewhere between then and Saturday. But after 12 years of faithful overuse, our air conditioner in the hottest part of the year decided to go on the fritz. We got somebody out to repair it, but what I didn't really realize it, and I was gluing stuff. I was working on the model, and the styrene wasn't staying glued. It was falling right apart. I'd come back hours later, and it would fall apart. So finally figured out that was most likely the issue. Took about a half a day, got that fixed. The house cooled off really quickly, and I was able to get back to work. So I did some of that. There were some nights that I got busy with some other stuff and wasn't able to work. So I did get somewhere, and so I'll certainly be able to talk through what I got through. I didn't finish up the other end, but it was definitely time to jump to the other side of the car. All right, so I didn't see anybody else come in at the moment, so I'll go ahead and get started. So as a reminder, where did I throw my visuals? It's not going to be a good reminder. It's going to be a very small one. But again, here is Let me see if I can adjust the light down a little bit. Nope, I'm just making it worse, I think. There we go. There we go. So what I've been trying to finish up was this side over here. I got all of these done as of last time we looked at that disaster of an air conditioning unit. But the next piece, or the last piece, is this sandbox, and he doesn't describe much in the article about this. And there aren't great pictures in the article of this piece either. So I went out to the wonderful YouTube and found some pictures, and we'll take a look at that. And then once I finished that, I was able to get started down on this end with the truck isolation, the battery box, and the battery charger. And again, as he's going through the article, he has some things where he's very detailed and some things he's not. He's not super detailed with this stuff. So, excuse me, I had to study the pictures quite a bit and go back to them and get a little creative to see what I could figure out. So we'll take a look at what I got through there as well. I'll do a bit of another slideshow so that you can see the progress of that, and then we'll look at the model. Yes, John, it does stink, and you're supposed to have an emergency fund, and it's supposed to be really easy to just dole out the money for an emergency situation like that, and that's not easy. So it'll be a little bit tighter when it comes to buying supplies for model railroad stuff. I did want to quickly go back to the NMRA website and look at some of the requirements, because again, I do want to promote the NMRA's Achievement Program, because it's going to make me a better modeler. This car is not going to look great from maybe a merit standpoint, but by the time I get to car 4, it should look great. And so let's go ahead and all right, so what I want to do is show you the requirements for cars. And so we're out at the website here. And if you go out to education and the achievement program, come over here to categories and cars. A lot of people get intimidated by the detailing that's involved. And what I'm finding out, and I'll explain this when I show you one of the next piece I'm working on that I haven't finished. The parts can look intimidating, but when you get down to it, and it may be cliche, but everything's just a box, and then it's how you dress up the box. So in looking at the requirements here, you have to have 4 different car types, and a total of 8 cars, and one of them must be passenger. I'm going to take care of that because 4 of mine will be passenger, and then I'll have some 4 other cars that will hopefully qualify. Then each of the 8 must be super detailed with either commercial parts or scratch built parts. And it goes into a little bit of detail, and it's talking about when you're detailing it, you're doing the specifics of the car. The brake wheels, the grab irons, and ladders are all a great place to start. And then it talks about particularly by replacing molded on parts that the car came. And so by detailing the bottom of this car, I may if I feature a picture of the bottom of this car and what I've already replaced, it'll probably qualify for that. And again, just doing mostly boxes here and trying to get a little creative with some of the other stuff. And there's a whole bunch of commercial parts and parts that don't necessarily they're not necessarily ever um, scratch built. You don't usually see people making their wheels and couplers and the trucks. So, things like that can be commercial parts. I know some people that do actually make brake fittings. Um, when I did the first car I tried was a flatbed car. Um, and I bought the brake riggings for that because there was no way when I was first starting out, I couldn't even cut the cross beams correctly that I could do that. But you definitely can. Not everything has to be so scratch built, or you don't have to make all of the super detail yourself, but it has to be super detailed. Um, and then you have to earn 87.5 points out of 25 when the models are evaluated. And you need to do that on 4 of them, not 8 of them. So I don't think this first one's going to get anywhere near 87.5 points, in my opinion. And I've shadowed judges at a regional convention and I've really studied how they do it. I've watched the videos that they have, that the NMRA has. And so I don't think I would give myself anywhere near 87.5 points for this. But I don't have to for 4 of the cars. I don't have to. So this can still qualify. So, even though it's my first one, doesn't matter. And then, of course, the dreaded paperwork. Everybody hates doing paperwork, but paperwork's required on that. And that's really what it's like. So if I just keep building these cars and building these cars, I'm going to get to a merit-worthy car. So I just wanted to, highlight that piece there. And so, Zerudo, this is a blown up underbody section of the cab car from the article. The blueprint is the article. So if this one was from I think this was the cover fell off. That's why I'm looking here. October 1998. Frank Cicero has done a couple articles on New Jersey Transit cars. And so this is the blueprint. And so he shows you some actual photos. He shows you some of the model photos. He'll then go in and I've showed these before, but he'll show the work he's done on it. And here's that one, this blown up from this. And so this is my blueprint. There's a waste treatment plant work on that'll be done on the trucks. Shows you the end view here to give you an idea of what needs to be done on there along with that. And then again, additional pictures to go along with that. So that's my blueprint. So I just scaled this up to actual size. So just to show you again, that's actual size. And so that helps guide me. This is not detailed enough. Like it has nothing, none of the wires and tubes or anything like that. So the pictures are integral as well. So yeah, I grew up with New Jersey Transit. I grew up I've gone to Philadelphia, down to Trenton, going to Philadelphia, but mostly I've traveled to New York. I've spent, when my dad had Thursdays off growing up, we'd often go in. I'm very lucky that they exposed me to Broadway plays in New York City. And in particular, my mother likes trains. And so she would go in with me every once in a while to New York City on the train. And then as I grew up, I started going in to visit friends and do the teenage and the young adult thing, and so that's why uh, I've been inspired to do the achievement program and to have my dream layout be the Northeast corridor. And for those of you not from New Jersey or not aware, New Jersey is only part of the Northeast corridor. It goes from Washington D.C. to Boston, and it's a 4-track main line through New Jersey. It's electrified, so there's really not very much interference from crossing traffic. They use bridges. When it goes into New York City, it tunnels in New Jersey and goes down. It goes down a 2-track into two tunnels into Penn Station in New York City, which is on the lower end of New York City, and then goes up through Grand Central and out and to Long Island Railroad, and Long Island Railroad comes in from the other direction, and Amtrak uses the Northeast corridor as well. They have their Acela trains, which are their fast trains to go from Washington to Boston and back, and some regional rail that will use that as well to go. Usually comes into Washington D.C. and goes up from there. Yeah, Zerudo. I don't remember the Atlantic City line way back, and you maybe you can tell us when that line started, but I don't. I remember driving to Atlantic City a lot with my family of lovers of Atlantic City, but and I know the Atlantic City line existed. I just didn't know when it got started. And yes, the Ranger games, it was really neat for Ranger and Nick games. You come in to Penn Station and you go outside. There are times you can go outside, but you won't really go outside. You go straight up into Madison Square Garden. It's a really neat thing. Okay. All right, so let's jump into the the shots I have of the work I was doing. All right. Let's see here. Let's get rid of. There we go. Okay. So this being a cab car, the engineer is going to sit in that end of the car. And so they usually had an engine on the front end, but they didn't turn their trains. So if they went down, let's say they did their trip from New York to Philadelphia, New Jersey Transit, they may have the engine on the going south, for instance, or maybe they have it going north. To be honest, I can't remember how they had it exactly, but they wouldn't have an engine on the other end. They only needed one engine for these trains. And that meant that they would use these cab cars, which were equipped for an engineer to drive the train from the cab car, and then they didn't have to turn the trains around. They certainly had yards that could do that. One of them that I'm going to model, hopefully, is called Sunnyside Yard. It's in New York. And there's there are shops to maintain the cars, but there are also there's I think 2 turnaround tracks on there. So, so there's the possibility, but they don't generally need to do that with the cab car. So one of the step wells had to go, and so I had to cut that out. So that's why you see all of the shavings that you see. Um, get rid of that banner. Uh, and so I used some styrene to fill that in, and I actually had, I think it was 080 styrene, and it was still not thick enough. So I had to add another layer of styrene after sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding to get the car body as flat as possible. I was able to do that. And you can see both the underside and the top side. The top side really it has to be flat because of the car body, just to make sure there's no interference. But it's the bottom side that was a lot of sanding to get that to be smooth. Okay, so we looked at the air conditioning unit, and we talked about how much trouble that was to build. And this being my first attempt, it will stay my first attempt. And I had said, well, it was only balancing on one cross beam, and so I moved it up to be anchored on the other cross beam. And so when I was looking to put in the the sander for the wheels, the I noticed that when I will put the wheels on just to see where I would set the sander, how big it would be, and everything, and then I noticed the wheel was hitting the air conditioner, so that wasn't going to work. So I did remove that from these cross beams. And then I realized in the directions, he says use 14 cross beams. And I only had 12 that I counted on there. And in the diagram he doesn't have those two cross beams. And thanks to the group for letting me know, hey, you saw cross beams underneath or supports underneath. So I just added in the cross beams here and moved it back. And now there's plenty of room. Here is the sander. The sandbox is what they call it. So I'm not sure if you can see my pointer on here. I can't see it on. Oh, there it is. I'm still getting used to the delay with YouTube, but there's a let's see if let's go back here. So this tube right here is what drops the sand out of this box here. So I'm like, how am I going to do angles and all this kind of stuff? Really intimidating to me to do this. So I said, it doesn't have to be exact. I can do a little bit of artwork on it and see if I can get it close. So here goes the art piece of it, which I don't have a lot of, but I'm trying to, because I didn't have any physical model for it. Excuse me again. I freehanded it and just tried to keep it in the dimensions based on the diagram, the dimensions for the width and length of it. Here I am making quite a mess of trying to get kind of this weird shape where it kind of has sort of two reverse humps, and wasn't figuring out a good way to do that, a good way to glue this together. And then it dawned on me, well, why don't I put some support in there? And that moved it along a little bit. And then you see over here, so the next attempt, once that dried on there, the next attempt was to get this. So not that you're ever going to see it, but this was open. And I do want to try to put a small piece of tubing just to show that it's a tube going down towards the wheels without trying to get it trying to have end up having problems with track and things like that. So it would just be representative. So I didn't need to have have it to be exact. Coming over here, again, I just decided I didn't really want to mess with all the angles. So the top part is flat. And then I added these little covers that were on the prototype here that were angled up. I assume that's where they fill the sandbox. I don't have any proof of that, but it's logical to me that's why that those are there. So I did put those in. Used a track pin to put a hole in there, a little hole, and then filled it in with the Tamiya panel liner just to give it some depth and color. And so you can see there's, now that that's in place and I stuck with the size and everything, there's enough room. There's not going to be a whole lot of room. So it's just going to be a really small little tube just to show, just to be super detailed. Excuse me, Kim. And so then I decided, I've been showing you the car upside down this whole time. So I flipped it over to give you a look with the wheels on. And that is what the sander looks like. So that was the last piece. Hey Ray, welcome to the stream, and hey, Happy Valley Hobbies, nice to see you here. If none of you have checked out Ray's or Happy Valley Hobbies streams, please go ahead and do that. Their live streams are great, and when Happy Valley Hobby was doing his, I was watching him, and he's kind of been my inspiration to just jump in and do it myself. So I have to say I appreciate that. But here is the work that's done all on this side now. So there's the sander, and there's the all of that work that I did all the way down. So now it's time to move to the other side. And so what you're looking at in this picture are there's a truck isolation, there's a battery box and a battery charger. And the battery box is one of the few things that is actually colored differently. So that's not going to go on right away, but I'll show you what we did anyway. So here is the battery box. Once again, it's just a box. It's not very ornate. It did have a split in it, so I did that. And it's a battery box, so I assume they have to get into it. So I cut some notches in to show that they got to open it up to get into the battery box. I did put that little piece of styrene in the middle of it because it was bowing inward. The front part of the box is actually an extra layer of, I think, 010 styrene. And then I gave it some of the Tamiya panel liner in where the in the middle to get the separation, and then where the handles would be. Even though I was painting over it, I still did that initially, and then try to get you a close-up live shot of it. And then as we go forward, I'll probably do a little more of the panel liner in there. Then it has some coiling, and then wiring, and then a piece to the side. And so that's just like an 030 piece of styrene with a hole drilled in it. It was either 025 or I think it was 025 or styrene, and so that was the same. That was the drill bit I used for that as well. And then I did some. I was, they say that the best modelers are the ones that cover up their mistakes. So from the paint job, from handling it and everything, from over gluing it with that's to me a thin cement, which is gonna melt the styrene. I use some AK weathering pencils with rust color to cover up my mistakes, and that's why you see that on this bottom picture. And we'll talk a little bit more during show and tell about AK weathering pencils. So now this is the truck isolation. I, not being an expert on this, I don't know much about what this is. His structure, I tried to copy, and I'll show you a picture of his structure too. But it's simply a piece of styrene on the bottom, a shield. It's a truck isolation shield, and so it's just a piece of 010 styrene, and then some rods. And then this rod is acting as some kind of wiring, and it's coming off of the crossbeam and just out, and it's actually in the open. You can see on this picture over here, it's sort of just in the open. When we look at the pictures from the model in the magazine, it looks like the battery box is attached right to here, and there's no crossbeam. So I did cut out that piece of the crossbeam, and the battery box goes right in here. And you can see that down here. And so this gets very close up to this side, and then the battery charger on is off to the right, which hasn't been built as of when this picture was taken. And then here I just flipped it upside down so you can see it from the perspective of the car. So just having to be mindful, and we'll see how the clearance is with this extra piece going down here. So the battery box, the battery charger is this piece right here. And this isn't a great picture, but essentially it had two boxes to it. It had a box behind with what looked like this a little bit, and then it had a little part cut out here of the front to give it. So here was my first cutout. That was a complete failure. My second one, when I tried to cut this too close to the edge, the pressure, even if the knife didn't get over there, the pressure just split it. And here it split all the way off. So the one that got on here is number 4. It took a while to get that on there. And then this, I had some leftover sprue from a wood kit. And it was, I think, the yard office that I did. It was like where kind of the metal cage around the windows and doors, it was from that. And then I layered it with about 4 layers to get that. And look at that. Gopher Girl finally made it in. And Ray, we all have those mistakes, but I appreciate people like you, and I try to emulate that and talk about my mistakes. And I want to show you these mistakes because we can only get better by making those mistakes. So I appreciate it. Oh, is it draft night? Wow. And I love hockey, but I don't get into drafts, but Gopher Girl, she's all about drafts. When it's the NFL draft, I have to find another place to live for a weekend. I got to take the dogs and go. It's her world when it comes to that, and we vacate. So, um, anyway, I will leave my opinions about the NHL teams I like and what they're going to do to screw up next season too. But moving on. So the next thing up, which I wasn't originally going to do, was the sewage treatment. So because he had in his diagram, he had the sewage treatment on the cab car, I was going to do it. And I will tell you why this was daunting. When you look at this in the picture he has in there, it's an O scale drawing. And again, it's just full of ornate stuff. It's not just basic shapes, at least when you look at it. And I really didn't want to jump into it. Then, I went back and I just kind of, I'm pushing forward, just jump in. And so I scaled down the drawing to HO scale. And then I really broke it down. So this drawing is the side, and then left side and right side, and then the, if you want to call that the front or the back. Um, and really, it's just a box. It's just this box. It's so I created a box with O3 styrene, and this is a piece of O8 styrene because the actual measure was O8 for thickness. So I just cut that and cut out the 6 pieces and created the box. All these things are rods and tubes and strips. That's a long strip. There is some angle break, but it's angles. And some of these that are just going down are tubes. This is just a tube that goes up into the underbody. These are tubes that just go down, and so it really, when you break it down, something that looks so ornate like this, it's a box, it's another layer or box. There's some what I didn't do here, you see there's some overhang. I didn't do overhang this. I just did the box as is. I blanked when I went to do it. So it's getting your measures right to make it look scale. That's about it. And then however you come up with that. And so right now, this is what I got. This is how far I got into to be honest, when I was supposed to be working. I may have been gluing some of this, but that's where we got to. So Ray, how is that? I don't know if you gave an update on finding another bowling team, or I think it's really cool. When I was growing up, we had a bowling lanes that was right down the road from us, and it was years later. I was much more grown up, but they finally got a professional bowling event there. But we used to go bowling all the time. I remember my dad's weird white bowling shoes. There was a time that my mom, my brother, and I shared a ball. And after we were done with the game, my bowling hand was black as dirt, and theirs were completely clean. I don't know how I drew all the dirt or anything, but one of those great bowling memories that I had growing up. All right. So, okay. So let's go back to there is there's the picture of what he did. And again, I still haven't solved the lighting. But I had to look at this picture and all of the pictures and go back and forth over and over and over again just to get an idea how to do that. And then let's see. Here we are. That's the box there. You can see, and again, this will all get painted. It's not coming in very clear, but I did get that, and I did put I think I put an 010 piece of styrene back behind there, so it wasn't going straight through. Let's see if I can get it to focus. So that's what that looks like, and that's what that looks like. And then here is the battery box that's going to go right in between the two and not be so odd like that. Nope, it's not going to stay. But again, the reason I didn't put that on is I painted this, and I painted it to be stainless steel. And so I don't have anything that's specifically stainless steel color. So I watched some YouTube videos and got a mixture and just eyed it, and it's a kind of just a duller, not so mirrored silver is what it is. So, but also wanted to see if I can get not sure if you can see that real well. Might need a little more light, but just to show you, there was a lot of fiddling around with that and getting that to work. The concept and figuring out how to do it was not hard, and I and that's coming from a little bit of practice on things now. I'm sort of getting it, and so, but just the fiddliness, my fingers and how they work aren't so good. So. Okay. Wow, we've been going quite a while. I didn't think I had as much to show, but apparently I did. So let's go ahead and switch over to show and tell. And then if anybody has any questions about this, and by the way, here is that box. That's all it is. 2 boxes, basically. But let's switch over to show and tell. And I'll show you the model and talk about the model and the techniques I used on the cover photo. So I will be right back. All right, so we are back, and this model, these are 2 actually separate models. So we'll start with this one. I was introduced to the idea of paper modeling, and yes, that's paper, and it's cardstock, so it's thicker, some of it. Let's see if we can. And so the people that designed this pre-designed that, and so you can get some nice looks from printed materials. And so in the picture, this is coming off the bay door, and it wasn't part of it, but it was something I wanted to attempt, so it made sense. And the manufacturer is Team Track Models. This is a free model. Anybody can go download this and print this on their printer at home on some cardstock and go to work on it. And it wasn't all just printed. So you can see on the bottom here, this is I forget what they call it, the official name, but this is the stuff that goes around pictures and picture frames. I can't believe I can't remember that. So I'm sure somebody will tell me uh, tell me what it is again. And it bothers me I can't remember. But it has some I don't know if you can see in here, but the design piece is just folded over cardstock. So what was printed was this piece here, and the directions were very clear and what to get, what type of cardstock to get. And so there's some supports in there. Uh, and was able to create this. And this is one of those things, that 3-foot rule. This doesn't look like cardstock from 3 feet away. This doesn't look like paper. It looks like broken up concrete that's been used. So really neat models. I haven't bought any of their models, but I would encourage people to check it out. Again, it's Team Track Models, and that's a free download. Let's see. Hey, Gopher Girl, can you maybe go grab that link and throw it in the chat for Happy Valley Hobbies? No, Ray, it's not foam core. This is going to drive me nuts. It's not foam core. This is it's pretty solid. What is that called? It's going to drive me absolutely nuts. If the New York Rangers are drafting, then maybe Gopher Girl is preoccupied. But again, we'll get that in the chat for you. It's not Gatorboard either. And Eileen, if you're still watching and you're not watching the draft, what is the framing stuff around pictures in picture frames? I'm sure you know, because I know you love buying picture frames. All right, give me 1 second here. Get this out of the way for a moment. Oh my goodness, I almost lost. Good thing that was off camera. I almost lost my model. See if that link works. You might need to put the HTTPS in front of it. Okay, so this model, some of you may know who makes this model just from it being familiar to a lot of their models. But this one is made by ITLA Scale Models and Nick over there at ITLA Scale Models. So one of the we've talked about group builds and things like that before, and I've talked about NuTrax modeling. One of the things we convinced Nick to do was get onto NuTrax modeling and do a group build, and he had somebody build for him, and he had a commentary and helped people through it, and it was several segments over several weeks. And this model, let me go show you this model on ITLA's website. so that it's one of the cheaper models from when you're looking at a full um, when you're looking at a full build, because he does sectional builds. So there we go. So this is it. It's a square building. You've noticed that mine was not square, and I can explain that to you. But he's still selling it for $40. Now we got a discount for buying for the group build. But again, it's just called the brick building kit. Nick designed it as a starter kit, and so that's the one he presented to us. So again, ITLA scale models. Grab that one, and I'll throw one in the chat as well. Yes, I'm talking about the mats that go around the pictures that are framed. It's driving me nuts. It's probably, like Ray said, it's probably called matting or something. I don't know why that's driving me nuts, but it's so. Anyway, getting back to the model. So you noticed on there that it's a square model. Mine is not. So, and I don't know if you can see. Again, I don't know why I'm having trouble. I think it's because I'm trying to work with the iPad and understand how the iPad works. So I can't get this to focus real well to show you from there because, signs are small. But this was named for my only Patreon patron, and his name is Matt Davies, and he's my brother, and he is in the printing industry and graphic design industry. So I made this the Davies. I can't even see it. I think it's the, but it's the Davies commercial printing company, and to fit on my layout, which is 2 4x8 modules and where it needed to fit, I could do a square, but it would be really small and really hard to serve to drop off and pick up stuff. So the interesting thing about this is this created a whole nother rabbit hole. I don't know if you could see. I wish I had the light behind it, but if you could see in here, there's stuff in there, and I'll flip that over in a minute. But what do printers need to have? What are they gonna get delivered? And they are Happy Valley, and it fluctuates. Sometimes it's congratulations, sometimes it's condolences. I gave her a 40-year contract. And yes, Ray, absolutely, it's paper. So the high volume printers need rolls of paper. So that's what this serves on the layout. And so he needs to receive rolls of paper. And he was telling me that you don't that they don't ship finished products, by rail. Finished products are generally shipped by UPS or other delivery folks. So that's where for at least for the layout, this came in handy, and there was enough room, and I bought a UPS truck, and so we have the printing company. What's really these are really nicely engraved kits. So he's got essentially he's got the brick and then he's got stone, you know, and it comes out really nice the way he cuts it and everything. And even the bracing, he does a good job and he makes sure that it's a different surface at the bottom. While it's not brick here, it's stone down here. And he went through, and the person that he worked with went through ways of painting and everything on here. The what makes this it's not an intricate craftsman kit. It is very beginner, but what makes this a craftsman kit is you have to put everything together. So the window, it's not like a plastic kit where everything is, that the window mullions and everything are, and ornate parts of the window are in place. You have to actually put these in individually. Slide them in. You have to slide that in, put the window in, put the doors in. These are all layers. And it's probably easier to see up in the corner here. That's all layers that goes over top of the pre-cut wood. And I didn't have to do a whole lot to make it look like brick. That's how nicely cut it was. And on the front end here, I only added this piece. It was very plain to me, and so I wanted to add something. So when I was at the hobby shop, I was looking at all the detail parts they only really have them for engines and cars and things. And so this is a air conditioning unit that goes on top of a cab. I couldn't tell you which one. Somebody out there might be able to tell you exactly which cab it goes on, but I just treated it like it was an air conditioning unit or other exhaust type unit and threw it on there. Over here is the side. And so the one thing that's uniform is you'll see when he has this aged look where it was concrete over brick and comes through, it all looks kind of the same. So you want to make sure it's varied enough if you're doing modular stuff. But it still looks really good. And learning to paint that and was, I have a tremor and it's very hard to paint those things. But I figured out a way to do it. I was impressed with that. Comes with a couple of this is a dry transfer decal to put on there. And it came with a few details that are all wood. So we painted this to look like copper because it's a coal chute for back when they used to use coal. Let's see, get a little more light. So I painted that to look like copper and put that on as a detail. Again, it wasn't super detail of a kit. It didn't have a lot of very fine details, but this was a beginner kit. And I did dust this off, but it's still very dusty. The chimney came with it. Can't remember this piece. These all came with the kit. These right here, they were like squared off, like rounded like this, but squared off. And so I wanted a little bit of variety. So I actually sanded around them to make them look like other structures than this. That looks very plain to me. And then putting that chimney together, that was a feat to do that. But it came together, and then I used some debris I put around here, and I used that as a kind of as a drain type of drain or venting where stuff would pool, and then just a tar paper roof with paper. And then I did use chalks on it as well. Okay, going back here, forgot to mention these right here. You got to have bumpers because you're going to have workers who are going to be careless and try to destroy your building and your equipment. So I figured let's do some kind of bumper. And I had an old chair that I broke. I fell over because I broke it with my back and my butt and went flying over. And so I just cut this out of the back of it, the where up towards the shoulder. It's this flat kind of fake leather material. So again, from afar, it just looks like bumper material. And so when I have it on here, you know, and they're coming in through there, that's on there like that. So okay, so another detail part. This is a meter. Oh, can't see that. This is a meter that they had. So there's a couple layers on there, and then this is a metal stack. It's designed to be metal. It is wood, and so this was a oh wow, this is a piece of wood that you glued on top of this piece. And then these were really finicky too, really small, fragile parts, the braces to brace them on there. And I this is not going to do a whole lot of justice either, at least on here, but this is supposed to be rebar, you know, the old brick and rebar, or old material and rebar, and then cement on there. And then, so talking about detailing, it's really hard to see here, but this was my first tagging of that ended in the abandoned depot, which I was tagged all over. I just put my initials on this little danger sign or keep out sign. Again, you'd have to be up close to really see it. Can't really see it on there real well, but it's just my initials. So to get a rust effect on here, in the model railroading world, AK weathering pencils just started getting talked about. So I went out and grabbed the 5-pack. They come in individually. They come in giant sets, like 70 of them. And then they come in like 5-packs of themed ones. So I went out and bought the rust ones, which came with like with 5 pencils, and they look like this. If you haven't seen them, they look like that. That's a medium rust. This is a vivid orange that comes with it. And so you can do two things. You can use them like a pencil. I'm going to see if I can show you this. See if you can see that. Use it like a pencil, and you can paint in with pencil strokes. It does work. And you can see this one, hopefully, is a bit more of a mess. And that's because if you add water, it turns into a paint. And you can paint on the rust. I used them on a yard office that I did, but this was the first one I did this on. You can see some of the rust here. I actually did rust on the rebar, which is you just can't see it with this camera in this setting. But on here, I used rust all up and down it, and I used all 5 pencils for that too. And I don't know if maybe getting further away helps at all, but that was a really neat use. They cost anywhere from, they started out costing about $2.50 a pencil, a little bit cheaper if you got them in a pack. I think at the local hobby shop, they went up to like $2.75 with everything that's going up. And Ed, yeah, this is rail served again. So paper rolls coming in, it's not rail served for going out. So if you're switching, you're gonna switch out and empty. You're gonna pull in a full load. And on the thumbnail, you can see the car I have with the paper roll showing like they're being unloaded. And if you've ever seen those AAR documents, you can find them online. Um, and um, they they go into detail about all kinds of freight, and so they had one on the um, paper rolls and how to pack them in a car and the different types of padding that were used. So I used some little, I don't remember what I used, but I created little squares of what are like supposed to look like a cloth in between the levels. And you can see that I have like a couple stacks in the doorway of the car. Um, and so the the paper rolls that I did are all half-inch tube with with uh, um, 010 styrene as the ends. And so I'll flip this over now, and here you can see on the interior. I went nuts with these. I cut up a bunch of these tubes into these paper rolls, and I tried to get them to be what the size that they should be, and I hope I did well with it. This is facing the track, so you don't see this side. You see this side facing out from the track, and so you can see the paper rolls in the window there. But I glued them in place over here. I attempted to. I I attempted to scratch build a a printing machine, and it just didn't look scale. And I also tried to print little cubicles, and it just didn't look good. Um, Additionally, when I was doing the floors in here, you can see I have stairs, and so the loading dock is up higher. Okay, so when I put the base in, or was putting the base in, um, again, it would be square. It's gonna, and I have half a video done on this, but the floor would go up to the window here on this window. So one day I was watching Boomer Diorama stuff, and of course he has a solution for everything, and he showed how easy it was to actually build stairs. So I did that in here, and so that this would be able, you would actually be able to get in the door. The suggestion, somebody had suggested have stairs going up from the door, which would have been a neat little thing, but I was already going in a different direction. So I went with and I was practicing the stairs. So I did that. I was also practicing painting and using painter's tape and stuff. And it didn't come out great, but it doesn't have to for something like that. But it's like basically warning, hey, there's stairs here. And hey, you might get hurt by the load there. So that was the interior. So I never filled this up. And so one thing to know about the ITLA models is they don't sell additional parts. They will, if there's a problem, they'll print and send you the parts. So let's say I had a roof piece that broke. I let them know that it broke. Then he would send me or you that piece, but he won't print and sell them to you. So so I have this big open area, and so if I ever want to show this off, I don't want this closed, so I just don't close it. So the weird thing is the light, if you're taking pictures on the layout, because it's so open and light comes through, you can see the engine when it's stopped with the car on the dock, the car unloading on the dock here. You can see the engine through here. So maybe I could just put something on here that would wedge in here, or I don't know, something to block that off. But it's not super important. Anyway, I would recommend trying this. This is, if you want to get into craftsman builds, this is a good entry point. Everything fits in a tab and slot nature. Let me see if I can show you on here. So here's your tab and slot type of thing. And so it all fits together well, all layers easily. Everything's on sprues, so you can paint and do all your things before you put it together. And Ray, did they have paper rolls like this for the newspaper down there? And yes, Ed, they're I guess they would be considered watercolor pencils. I mean, he doesn't real. I don't have the packaging anymore, but I would consider them watercolor because you have water to activate them and make them into a paint. So yeah, I would consider them that. Much larger. Yes, I would bet. I mean, if you're doing some banners and things, you're going to have some large paper rolls. But yeah, you're going to need that if you've got large circulation. So okay, so let me see if there was anything else. If I have any. Okay, so that was the other thing. This is all scrap wood because it was square. I didn't use, so I have the top, I have the roof somewhere to use on something else. But this was, oh, that's right. I used scrap wood. So what happened was I used scrap wood and it didn't fit right, and I didn't have other scrap wood that would be fit that was thin enough to work with. So this ended up being styrene, and then the paper roll roof on top of that. Here, I don't know if you could see in the inside in the middle where the seam is, there's that more of that tab and slot. So it works with however you do it. So let's say you wanted this to be a building that has this side jut out this way. And so that if you're going in this way, you could do that with his models with his, that's how flexible they are. It would just face that way and use the tab and slot to connect them. um, I did use some black paper in here. There was some light bleed, and around areas like this door down here. You can see that since this door doesn't have windows or anything, and it's just the door in place, and it's not used. So I use some black paint or something just over that to reduce light bleed. Uh, the only other detail that I don't have on here from the kit is this came with railings. And so this is wood railings, right? And but so thin that they were so easy to break and hard to handle. And so I couldn't get them on there. So if I was going to do that, I'd probably use some brass wire or something, would probably be a little easier to work with because it's more solid. But that was the only thing. So it's not ADA compliant. And it's probably not anyway because it doesn't have a ramp. So so yeah, you could. So I was wondering, Ray, is there a way not just to hug it? I'd actually have to do some work there, but is there a way? Is there a way to overhang it, maybe, or maybe just tape? Maybe I could, have tape on the inside to just hold it in place. Not that I'm going to move it or anything, but just for like photos and stuff is what I would want that for. Yeah, and you make it so that you have to scratch build just about everything with your model. So yeah, their brick would be too way too fine for that. And I assume they didn't have rebar back in the day either. That it was all wood supports. Let's see if I missed anything here. Yeah, Ray, dust is natural weathering indoors anyway, for sure. Um, but yeah, there's still some on there that I didn't get off. Um, I did get a lot off. It was thick. Um, I used makeup brushes that I use for when I add powders on because the bristles are so soft. So when I don't know if you could see it on camera here, but when I was dusting this off, it was creating a cloud. That's that's how much dust is on here, sitting on the layout. So no wonder we got to clean our track so much. Um, I did use, I used, see if you can see. I really wish I had some good light here, but this is also, this is not, this was designed to look like metal as well. So I used rust on there. So any other tips, tricks, or hints? I don't think I have any on these. I did talking about the real quick about the paper model. This one here. Another, and I was just going to say it again, New Tracks Modeling. There's a gentleman on there that designs them in, is it Word? Um, he designs the buildings, and he had somebody do a build along there. I'll have to show that as well. Did like an engine house, um, and so I'll have to show that as one of my models at some point. I cut it on an angle just where the track was and where it was against the layout. But from afar, it looks really nice. And if you spend a lot of time and you're very careful, you can have really, really nice paper models with a lot of depth. And if they have good design or even photorealistic design, they come out really, really nice. Hey, Willow Creek, welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. So I don't know if you've I haven't I don't you have to forgive me, I don't recognize your name, um, but welcome to the live stream. And so what I basically do on these live streams is I'm chronicling my work in the achievement program, and right now I am working on a car, and so this is the work I'm doing on the underbody, and this is how far I've gotten on the first car that I'm working on. And so I want to kind of chronicle and try and help others uh, do this as well, um, and get to be better modelers. And then I always have a show and tell, um, showing the model that I put on the thumbnail. And so we're working with an ITLA model, scale model building that I did through a build along where, through a show called New Tracks Modeling, where we got a discount, and the owner and a friend of his did the build and through several shows, and we built along with it. And so that's what I was featuring tonight. Do I want to know, Ed, what you're talking about toy dogs? Yeah, but were the bricks, Ed, when back in the 1800s, were the bricks as refined as they are, like on a model like this one? um I would think they had some brick buildings back then, but not as refined as that, I guess. And 187th steel mill modeling. Are you referring to the back of the building using magnets for that? I suppose if we could use some strip magnets, maybe along the sides here. That's not a bad idea to look into. I know there are some like flat like strip magnets that you could use. They never seem to be as strong as the other types of magnets, but certainly could give that a try. So I'm just checking out the comments here, see if there are any additional ones. That's a good question. What is everybody else working on tonight? Has anybody else built an ITLA scale model? I know that Chris from Go Via or Go Home just did a build along, or is in the process of doing a build along for. I think it's York Industries, but I'm not. No, I don't think it's York Industries. I can't remember which one it is. It's bigger than this building, though, for sure. But I know they've been working on that on his. I think it's the Saturday night streams now. The other thing that they do at ITLA is they do modular buildings, so you can have some different designs. So just like this, in a sense, they go together in the tab and slot method, and they all really fit together. But you can buy individual panels and build what you want to build. So I was happy to start with the kit and try the kit, as I was just really getting started with kits over there in New Tracks Modeling. So, so yeah, Ed, it's really impressive what you're doing with. So as we talked, as you noticed, we talked about he's modeling, in the 1800s, and so nothing's in standard gauge, and he's got to build. He doesn't have a lot of resources out there that are commercially built for model railroading, and so one of those things he's working on is the track work, and that impresses me too. I still don't understand how track spikes actually hold track down. I have enough trouble when I glue it down on my layout, and to see track spikes hold is pretty impressive to me. Of course, I haven't tried yet to do it myself, so that's another project for another day for me. Hey, well, Creek, I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to check out your channel. I don't think I've seen your channel, or maybe I have, and I just haven't seen anything lately on there. But what type of scenery you're working on? Are you in, what are you modeling? Uh, That'd be interesting to see. Okay, so maybe you were talking about using track spikes. They're looking into them. I don't remember, but I thought you were using track spikes. Super glue works a lot better. You know, I think I highlighted this. Speaking of super glue, um, I have an allergy to at least the Gorilla Glue glue. So Bob Smith Industries makes two super glues that are odorless. I'm sure they're still bad for you, but they're odorless. And one of them's a little faster drying than the other one. And so I have to use that if I'm going to use super glue. And there's so much to use super glue for that you can't use other glues. So I pay a little bit more for that than other super glues. Okay. So we've been going for an hour and a half, and it's been really fun to share this with you. I I mean, I love what I'm doing with the models, but this is one of my one fun build, and because for the painting piece of this and for the um, the rusting with the 8K pencils. Hopefully, at some point, I'll get a. I had an intro video as part of another video. I had an intro to this. Hopefully, I will get. I have a video started for this one. Hopefully, I'll get that out and we can see some better, a better look to it and really see up close. Thank you, Zarud. I really appreciate that. The I thought they just called them rare earth magnets. I know that when I worked for a Target store at one point. I have a bunch of those in a drawer somewhere for the name tag, so that you didn't ruin your shirt. They had little a little strip magnet, and some of them had just a little round magnet, and they were super strong. I think those were rare earth magnets. And Willow Creek, I think that's what the rare earth magnets are called too, if they're something like that. Um, and hey, Ed, the talking about copper ties. One of the things that I want to do with the modules I do have, I used tracks. I don't know if you call it cheap or just being quick about it. I just put in um, crossover tracks over the modules that fit between the two rails. And so they're probably each a couple inches long. And it's worked for the most part, but it's caused a bunch of problems. So one of the things I want to do at some point is bring those tracks to the end of the modules. And I know that I bought a bunch of copper sheets from Amazon to do the copper ties on the end. So I'll be doing that because there's like 7 crossover tracks. So I'll definitely be trying that at some point. I think you're just making up new uh, track sizes. I've never heard of HOW6. Interesting. All right. So, like I said, we've been going for quite a while. We're over an hour and a half now, and I appreciate all of you sticking around. I love the crew that I have coming back each week, and I really appreciate it. And I hope that um, I'm really inspiring you folks to just jump in and try something. I know you all do model railroading and all do something around railroads. Um, and I just hope that I inspire you to, just try something. Try something new that you never tried before. Something you always wanted to try. And it doesn't have to be model railroading, but whatever you want to try, and whatever makes you happy, as Happy Valley Hobbies always says. Um, so and I appreciate that, Ray, whenever you can. I appreciate you stopping by, um, and I learn a lot from you. And so hopefully I can inspire you to do some things that you haven't done before. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. And again, everybody just jump in and try something new and have a great weekend.